Say a note to my little state law about officers receiving fraud text letters that should be prohibited. Okay.
Good evening and welcome to Give Me a Break. I'm Jonathan Carmody. We've been focusing on this officer who was accused of tax evasion. Not only that, he also works as an officer. But there's now new leads into this case. Could he go to jail? And what does the mayor have to say? Well, the mayor had a press conference and Chris Papps was there to explain. Here's Chris Papps.
I do have a question for Mayor Scott. Project Baltimore came to this event in southwest Baltimore to ask Mayor Brandon Scott about how the city spends your money.
You're talking about spending taxpayer dollars in the city, and my question is in reference to that. Do you have any statements that you want to make to the community?
Former Baltimore City Schools police officer Lauren Smith, earlier this month, pleaded guilty to felony wire fraud and income tax evasion. He faces 25 years in jail for stealing $215,000 taxpayer dollars in fraudulent overtime. But despite his convictions, Smith will retain his pension through the Baltimore City Employee Retirement System. ERS does not have a clause prohibiting retirees from receiving a pension for criminal misconduct, except for elected officials. We asked the mayor if laws need to change.
Folks who are breaking the law should not be able to keep pensions, no matter who they are. But those issues are not just something that we can solve in the city of Baltimore. They have to be solved in Annapolis.
The mayor is not the only city leader who has said pension law should change.
We should not have to continue paying for police officers' criminal conduct.
In 2022, Baltimore City Comptroller Bill Henry,
I'm urging you to right that wrong now.
testified in Annapolis in favor of legislation, Senate Bill 47, that would have mandated police officers convicted of qualifying crimes, including felonies, forfeit their government pensions. In an email this week, Henry's office told Fox 45 his support for changing the law remains unchanged.
There should be accountability. A crime is a crime.
Republican State Senator Johnny Ray Sally represents Baltimore County. He also favors changing pension law. So if there's support from Democrats and Republicans to change pension law, why hasn't it passed? Sally is a member of the Budget and Taxation Committee in Annapolis, where Senate Bill 47 was introduced. He told Fox 45 News there's two reasons the legislation did not pass in 2022. First, Sowing said, Senate Bill 47 only dealt with police officers forfeiting pensions for committing crimes, not all government employees.
And I'm like, if you want to do something like this, let's not leave anybody out.
Second, in 2022, the Maryland Police Accountability Act took effect, which established more stringent requirements for police accountability and discipline. Around that same time, Maryland became the first state to repeal the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights, which limited legal protection police officers have while on the job. Sowing said the feeling in Annapolis was enough had already been done to impact police. Senate Bill 47 was not even voted on in committee.
With 2026 being an election year, Sally said the chance of legislation similar to Senate Bill 47 passing is slim because lawmakers will be focused on other issues that tend to produce more positive headlines. But after the 2026 election, Sally said lawmakers may be willing to tackle the pension issue. I'm Chris Papst, and this is Project Baltimore.
This shouldn't be up for debate. You know, nothing should be up for debate when it comes to pension. You know, if you're going to jail, you're in jail. You shouldn't be receiving more money. It shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be happening. And, you know, you can take it from me, but, you know, the only thing I'll tell you this, you know, this is what I'll tell you, you know. You've got to sit there and say, hey, you know, we shouldn't be paying officers while they're in jail. If they're in jail, nobody should receive any money. They should be able to not get their funding and still be sitting in jail for years. And that's hurting and that's hurting us taxpayers. The public's suffering for it, and while the public's suffering for it, and the taxpayers are hurting. And the kids are hurting, you know? The kids are also hurting from the tax dollars. So, what does it lead you to believe? Well, it leads you to believe that, you know, we're paying the officer while he's in jail. It's like paying substitute teachers on leave. There's a difference between suspending with pay and without pay. Without pay means no payment. With pay means that you can still get paid while you're getting suspended. So you eat your popcorn, you get paid. You play video games, you get paid. All while you're suspended. That with pay should be gone. It needs to be without pay. If you get rid of the with pay and go with suspension without pay, then maybe then us taxpayers would save a lot of money. That's what I believe in. Up next is Flashback Friday, the first Flashback Friday of season 9. From teachers cheating to even a student who decided to cheat for everyone else on everyone else's SATs. How do you do it? It's a Cheaters Edition Flashback Friday you probably don't want to miss. So please stay with us. It's been a while since we've done a flashback. It's been a long time since we've done a Flashback Friday since last season. But now that we're in the middle of season 9, it's time to play some catch up. So this in mind, this Flashback Friday is going to be all about the Cheaters Edition. Meaning, we've been talking about cheating in our schools for years. And when I was a kid in school, the worst thing that could happen to you was to get kicked out of school for cheating. Nowadays, you can actually go to jail for it. We're not talking about the students. We're talking about the teachers that cheat. As you first showed you several times on this broadcast, teachers have been accused in South Carolina of cheating. Meaning they were caught erasing and correcting wrong answers. What's the reason for this? It's the money. The money is the reason why this is happening. And it's not just happening. It's not just happening in South Carolina. It's also happening in many other states. But as we first showed you, the taxpayers are hurting, the public suffering for it. Here's Molly Saver.
I want to remind you that this morning you will be taking tests in the areas of language and mathematics. These tests are very important to each of you and to our school.
There's supposed to be great security surrounding achievement tests. Teachers must sign out for the tests and the students' answer sheets.
Thank you.
Tests are supposed to be sealed. Often they are not. Since the point of the test is to learn what children know and when they know it, teachers are not supposed to know what questions are on the test. So they will not, even subconsciously, teach the test to their classes. That's the theory. But one South Carolina teacher who's reluctant to show her face for fear of losing her job says at her school, all the teachers know what's on the test, and the principal encourages them to cheat. Has he ever said, cheat, give them the answers, give them the questions, teach the test?
Teach the items that are on the test, teach the material that will be on the test.
How do you know what's on the test?
We see the task.
She says the school administration gave her the test a week before test day. When she questioned this, she says she was told by her principal to be a team player. Have you ever looked at those papers the kids turned in and corrected them?
I've never changed them, but I know people that have.
People at your school have changed answers?
Yes.
It can be as blatant as that. But the most common form of cheating is what teachers euphemistically call test preparation. See the test, then teach the test. That's a crime in South Carolina. Only one teacher has ever been prosecuted, Nancy Yergin.
You gave them the exact questions and answers.
I simply taught the material, but I used the specific material that was going to be asked in the test. I didn't teach them all about all of the invasions in World War II, knowing that only the Berlin airlift was going to be covered. I just simply dealt with the Berlin airlift.
And the question and the answer.
Yes, exactly the material they would be asked. And I did not give them any of the related material that might confuse them.
You zeroed them in on
Yes, I did.
precisely the question.
Yes, I tried to.
Precisely the answer.
The exact material.
And the same questions were used year after year, correct?
Right. When I gave the test last year, that was the 8th year the same identical test had been used, verbatim.
Nancy Yergin, among the most popular teachers at Greenville High, once named Teacher of the Year by the PTA. After she was caught, she says she heard from other teachers who told her cheating was commonplace.
I know some schools that have bi-weekly meetings in the grade levels to go over material that's going to be given on the test.
John Graham Altman, attorney and longtime member of the Charleston County School Board in South Carolina. Cheating in his school district, he says, is so widespread, the tests have become meaningless.
I think they have less value than a broken clock. They just don't give you any useful information.
The most compelling evidence Altman offers that there is something very fishy in the system is that while South Carolina's elementary and high school achievement scores soar over the national average, the state is at the bottom nationally in college boards and other tests local schools do not control.
I think it's just sheer fraud to tell a student or his parents that he's doing better than he really is.
The effect of this is that it allows poor schools to continue to be poor and escape the eye of public inquiry.
Dr. John Cannell has become something of a legend in the world of education. His watchdog group, called Friends for Education, has been tracking the whole business of achievement testing. He says the public education system is riddled with cheating, but the education establishment, in using test results to show progress, is committing a nationwide scam.
Headline story, front page story. Washington, D.C. students score well on national test. Well, that story is printed by the Chicago Tribune and the San Francisco Chronicle and the Los Angeles Times and even the New York Times. And everywhere, superintendents are able to feed these bogus test scores to the print media. The scores are printed, the superintendent gets their raises, and the people of that state are convinced that they're not part of a nation at risk.
Dr. Cannell says the only unusual thing about the Nancy Yergin case was that it became public when this Greenville High teacher blew the whistle. She is Catherine Rice. A year ago, she was supervising an achievement test in her homeroom class when she saw one of Nancy Yergin's students pull out a stack of notes.
I glanced at them and realized they were a copy of the test, a handwritten copy of the test with the answers underlined.
Questions?
Questions and answers. 6 pages.
Were you surprised by this?
Yes, I was floored. I understand that he took the notes that we took in class with him to the test and hoped to use them to help him answer the questions on the test. That was cheating.
But
where had he gotten the notes?
where had he gotten the notes?
From me. Right. The material from me.
Nancy Yergin says she was encouraged by her principal, Linda Ward, who she says told her that when she was a teacher, she had done similar preparation for her students, and that it was important to get those test scores up.
She said to me at that time, she looked at me and she said, "We've got to get more teachers doing what you're doing. They're playing that same game everywhere else and we're just not taking part."
That's not true. And I'm sorry that an untrue statement like that has been made. I never cheated, I never condoned cheating, I never encouraged cheating, and I never implicitly gave anyone a green light.
Is there pressure on you as principal to get those scores up?
No. No. We all like to have good scores. We like our school to show up well on that list in the newspaper. But the real pressure I feel is to do a good job with the curriculum. And of course, I don't get a bonus. No matter what the scores are, principals don't get any bonuses.
But the school does.
The school gets some money, yes.
Not just the school. The state also rewards teachers, cash bonuses to those whose classes show improved test scores. A number of teachers at Greenville High received bonuses, Nancy Yergin among them. Linda Ward denies putting pressure on teachers. She says when Nancy Yergin was caught, she turned the matter over to the district superintendent. Nancy Yergin says she did not tell the superintendent about the pressure she felt from her principal.
He said to me, if I thought your principal knew about this, she would be in as much trouble as you're in. And when those words came out of his mouth, that really, I did not reveal that to him.
Why not?
Why? Because of my feeling for Linda.
Nancy Yergin says she idolized Linda Ward, wanted to be like her, and even now, a year after the incident, she can barely mention her name without tears. Ward offered to let Yergin resign. Yergin chose to fight. It became a public issue. WYFF, a local TV station, covered a public hearing in which a crowd of parents and students rallied to Yergin's support.
She takes time with us and she really explains everything in detail and she cares about us and she really shows it.
To no avail. She was fired and shortly after was arrested for breach of test security. She took to the airwaves.
Do you think it was bad that your son was given that study sheet ahead of time?
Absolutely not. We love you, Nancy. Hang in there.
Thank you. I appreciate your support.
But finally, her nerve gave out and she pleaded guilty and was fined $500. The 90-day jail sentence was suspended, and then the final blow. Her teaching certificate was withdrawn. Nancy Yergin will never teach again.
I didn't establish the penalties, nor did she, but she certainly knew prior to cheating what the possible consequence was.
Can you and Linda Ward look at each other in the eye these days?
I haven't seen Linda in a long time. I would like to. But I don't think she wants to see me.
What would you say to her?
I'm sorry.
The state accused her of cheating for money. For the total of $5,000 in bonuses she received over 2 years. She denies it. She says she was only trying to help the poor kids, the black kids.
A lot of these children are disadvantaged, and for them to have an experience, one more knockdown experience, and one more time being told, you're nothing, you're stupid, you're less than quality. You're told that often enough, pretty soon you believe it. And then you wonder why they don't want to stay in school.
Dr. Cannell believes Nancy Yergin's attitude is common. The net effect of making exceptions for the poor and the black at test time is a form of racism.
In fact, what these tests do is hide the great inequality in American education. If you're born poor and black in South Carolina, you're going to stay poor and black all your life because of public schools. When you finish the public schools in South Carolina, you're going to be illiterate.
Cannell concentrates his anger on achievement testing in the poorest parts of the country. But the corruption of the system seems to be everywhere. The Franklin Avenue School in Los Angeles, one of 68 California schools in which principals and teachers were caught cheating, caught erasing and correcting wrong answers. In Memphis, Tennessee, one teacher confessed that with the principal's complicity, students were given copies of the test before taking it, and teachers have been caught cheating in Texas and Illinois.
Everybody in education knows what's going on. And the State Department of Education is one of the greatest culprits here in this state. They ride those test scores. And they go up and they say, give us more money. Hire more people. Pay them bigger salaries. It's a racket. And the public's suffering for it. And the taxpayers are hurting, and I guess most of all, the kids are hurting.
Dr. Charlie Williams, the superintendent of South Carolina's Department of Education, dismisses such allegations.
A lot of people may say a lot of things that don't make them accurate. That doesn't make them accurate.
He says the pressures teachers feel to get the scores up have a positive effect.
I think the pressure causes people to teach more effectively. The assumption that's being drawn by you and others is that pressure causes teachers to become cheaters and dishonest people.
I asked, how do you know it's not going on?
Well, first of all, most teachers are sincere about teaching kids rather than making the test scores look good.
People that think that need to come down to the real classroom and see what's going on.
If everybody knows, how come nothing's been done?
It doesn't benefit any school person to do anything about it. Can you think of one? Well, I'm not supposed to be asking questions, but can you think of any school official who benefit from low test scores?
Never mind test scores, Dr. Cannell feels this whole story can be reduced to two fundamental questions.
What do your children know, and when do they know it? Because if you don't get an accurate answer to that question, your child is going to join the increasing numbers of young adult illiterates in this country, and it's going to be too late.
It'll be too late for your child's education, so that's the bottom line here. Coming up, a student who was arrested, who had a perfect score, but then was caught cheating on the SATs. How come? His story when we come back. Stay with us. So tonight's Flashback Friday is going to be all about cheating and the test system. How difficult is it to cheat, and about the system, the security system on the tests. We first focused on one who was cheating, a teacher. Now it's focusing on a student who was doing so good, others paid him to do their test for him, which was cheating. As we first showed you, his story is similar to Nancy Juergens. How can it be? Here's Allison Stewart.
I thought that there was an easy way to make money. And just like any other easy way to make money, it's always too good to be true.
Who told you you were in trouble?
My parents got a phone call saying that there was a warrant for my arrest, which was scary and shameful. I felt like my world was going to come crashing down.
Until he was arrested in September, Sam Eshigoff seemed like the perfect kid. At New York's Great Neck North High School, he was a top student, vice president of the business club, and a varsity athlete. But what may have been his greatest talent was the one that got him in trouble: his ability to ace standardized tests, which was how he began a double life as a con man.
I would call him an academic gun for hire. That's what he was.
People just needed him to get a job done, and he got it done.
And he was the man.
Nassau County District Attorney Kathleen Rice filed criminal charges against Eshigoff and the students who hired him.
This was a huge fraud from my perspective. This was lots of money exchanging hands. There were high stakes involved, and there was forgery, there was criminal impersonation. That's a fraud. It's a fraud on many different levels. But most importantly, against the kids who play by the rules.
During the course of the investigation, what did you discover about the process of taking the SAT and the security associated with taking an SAT test?
How incredibly easy it is to cheat the system. There is absolutely no security in place whatsoever to prevent criminal impersonation like we see here from happening.
So if I went up to any one of those kids and I'd say, "Do you know what this guy did?" they'd all know.
Every single person would know who I am and what I do.
Eshigoff says paid test takers were an open secret among students at Great Neck North. He became the best known, but he says he was not the first.
I had heard of it happening successfully in my own high school.
So tell me about taking the mental leap from, well, I heard other kids are doing it, to, I think I'm going to do this.
Well, it all started with some kid approaching me. And he's like, "Yo, you're good on your SATs, and I'm not. And you know this is possible, so how much is it going to take?"
Here's how he did it. It was as simple as making a high school ID, one of 6 forms of identification accepted at SAT testing centers.
A school ID is what is that? It's some colors with literally a name and a picture on it. So what I would do is I took the template for my high school ID, pasted my picture on top of it, and whatever person's name whose test I was taking, I would have their name and date of birth on it. And it was really as easy as that.
No social security number, no driver's license, no passport.
Name and date of birth.
On a little piece of plastic.
On a little piece of plastic that got laminated once.
Fake ID in hand, and with a bad case of nerves, Eshigoff began his lucrative career.
As soon as I took that first test and I went in and I killed it. Like, I got my first time ever taking the test for somebody else, I got a perfect score in the math section. It was like, whoa, that was easy, and that was great, and I'm good at this.
It was clockwork from there. Over the course of nearly 3 years, he took the SAT over and over again, consistently scoring in the 97th percentile or higher for the students he called his clients.
I mean, my track record speaks for itself. Like, if you know somebody's so stellar at doing something so flawlessly, without one exception, it goes without saying that's a reliable service.
Were you invested at all in the score you would get?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just like any other business person, like, you want to have a good track record, right? And essentially, like, my whole clientele were based on word of mouth and like a referral system. So as soon as I saved one kid's life.
Saving his life?
Saving his life.
What do you mean by saving his life?
I mean a kid who has a horrible grade point average, who no matter how much he studies is gonna totally bomb this test. By giving him an amazing score, I totally give him like a new lease on life. He's gonna go to a totally new college. He's gonna be bound for a totally new career and a totally new path in life.
But isn't he going to take the place of someone who may have actually worked for it and deserve that position?
I hear that, but I don't care for a complaint like that. That one kid that I helped get into whatever school, he really wasn't displacing anybody.
You sound like you want to defend their right to be in these
I don't have
schools.
to defend them, but I feel confident defending the fact that them getting into the schools that they ended up getting into didn't really affect other people.
But it's possible.
It's possible.
If that sounds outrageous, it's because his high scores and his clients' money trumped right and wrong. At the height of his business, Eshigoff was able to charge as much as $2,500 per test. One very satisfied customer gave him an $1,100 tip.
A lot of times I'd actually even induce a bidding war between two potential clients. Have them like fight against each other for who was going to pay me more.
He didn't stop after he left for college. He just added the cost of flying back home to his fee. The big question for me comes back to, where are kids getting this money to give you? Because we're talking about thousands of dollars. And then if you add airfare,
Yeah.
do you know where they were getting the money?
I mean, I can't imagine that like a high school kid would be able to get this kind of money on his own, like from working or something. I don't know. Maybe it came from their parents. I mean, I wasn't really gonna ask them, okay, so where are you getting the money from? But come on, let's put two and two together.
I've read this, but I want to hear it from you.
Mm-hmm.
You took the SAT for girls.
Correct.
How do you take the SAT for girls?
Like, if the girl has a foreign name, that could be perceived as unisex. Like, a girl could be named Alex, but if she needs me to go and take her SATs under the name Alex, whatever, it's easy as that.
Did you ever take the SAT twice in one weekend?
Yeah, actually, I have done that.
Eshigoff exploited accommodations that the Educational Testing Service provides to make the SAT accessible to everyone. That's why a high school ID is an acceptable form of identification. Also, students can take the test at any of the 6,000 testing centers nationwide. So Eshigoff would choose centers where he knew he wouldn't be recognized. Describe the security for me when you as a student show up to take your SAT.
When I go to take the SAT, it's as easy as going in, keeping your head down, giving that proctor the flash of the ID, which is all they need. They just need to match the name on the ID to the name on their roster. And then it's find your seat, don't make noise, don't cause trouble, do what you gotta do and get out.
Who are the proctors? Do you know who the proctors were at these tests?
I realized that the proctors were just like junior faculty members and like cafeteria aides and like staff that really had no business proctoring a test.
So you didn't feel like you had to go past a security gauntlet?
Oh, not at all. I mean, no security gauntlet. I mean, how hard would it be to trick a cafeteria aide into letting you sit in that seat?
Is it easy to cheat on the SAT?
No, I don't believe it is.
Kurt Landgraf is president of the Educational Testing Service, which administers the test for the College Board and is responsible for SAT test security.
This is not a common occurrence.
How many impersonations did ETS discover last year?
About 150.
But in reality, that's the 150 you know about. That doesn't mean there were only 150 impersonations.
Absolutely.
Landgraf says, according to their data, of the 3 million students who take the SAT every year, more than 99% do so honestly. His organization spends $11 million on SAT test security annually. Do you know how many times Sam Eshigoff took the SAT?
Actually, I don't.
16 times. Does that surprise you?
No.
That he was able to get by your proctor 16 times?
Well, if he had an ID with his picture on it, and he had and a name, and the registration document had that name on it, he could get in. Sure. No, it doesn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't surprise me.
Does it concern you about the integrity of your test if one teenage kid can do that 16 times? And that's all that we know about from him alone.
Yeah. So the integrity of the test, the validity of the test score, is the primary concern of ETS and the College Board, since I believe that almost all the students take the test honestly, with integrity, and the score is valid. It's very important that we not overreact to this case or any future cases and do things that would be onerous and detrimental to the actual long-term security or access for the administration.
Sam Eshigoff is a smart kid, but you don't have to be a brainiac to cheat the system the way it exists at this present time. There's absolutely no security procedure in place. Any review is done after the fact, which prevents any level of accountability once cheaters are caught, and that system has to change.
We now know that the security vulnerabilities we exposed in September are a systemic problem.
Since Eshigoff's arrest, the investigation has grown. More than 50 students have been implicated in what District Attorney Rice calls well-run cheating operations in 4 different New York counties. Rice says she discovered a sophisticated system of brokers who would match buyers and sellers based on their ability to pay and their ability to score.
We know that there are students who met with someone who acted as a middleman, who said, tell me what you want, tell me what you need, how much money do you have, okay, I'll set up the test taker and they'll take the test for you. I mean, this is big business, and it didn't just start in 2011. This has been going on, this criminal impersonation has been going on for years, I mean decades, all across this country.
Sam Eshigoff was caught after several of his clients, students with suspiciously high scores, were questioned and confessed. 6 weeks ago, Eshigoff's legal team accepted a plea deal, which includes community service, tutoring low-income students on how to take the SAT. Was there ever a point when you were taking these tests that you had a conversation with yourself that went like this? Sam, I know I'm doing the wrong thing. I'm lying here. This is not right. I gotta stop this. Did you ever have that conversation with yourself?
Yeah, I did. It was tough. I knew I was doing the wrong thing. I fully acknowledged that this is the wrong move, and I gotta stop this. But I guess I was low on cash, and I just told myself one last time, one last time, one last time.
You feel bad about what you did?
If I could start over, I never would have done it.
Eshigoff is back at college now. And if you're wondering what happened to the kids he helped get into school, their colleges will never be notified about what they did, because it is ETS policy not to tell schools about cases of suspected or confirmed cheating.
We know that there are kids in college right now who got where they are because of tests that someone else took, and there's nothing that we can do about it. If that doesn't tell you that the system has to change, I don't know what does.
And nobody knows that the system can change. So now we know what happens. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Finally, there's more to this guy than meets the eye. So here's more of his interview.
So many parents spend so much money on SAT prep for their kids. Given how many times you've taken it, do you think that's money well spent? Is it worth it?
No, like, I'll be honest. I'm looking at these like $3,500 SAT programs and seeing those kids get marginal improvement on their scores, and it's like, no, like it's not worth it. Especially since they don't really put you in the right directions to do well on the test.
Okay, then tell me, what is the right direction to do well on this kind of test?
I'll be like, in all honesty, this is probably gonna come to disappointment to a lot of people, but if you haven't been academically conditioned your entire life up until the day you sit in that test room, you're not gonna do well. There is no kid that does bad in school and doesn't have a good work ethic that can study his ass off and do well on the test the day of, because it really is a function of how well you gear yourself towards an academic mindset up until then.
So is there anything that a kid can do to dramatically increase their scores within a 6-month period, in your opinion?
Pay someone to take the test for you.
That's it?
No, to dramatically increase your scores right before the test, no, there's no dramatic way to do it. There's certain things you can keep in mind, like there's certain tricks on the SATs and certain things that they look for, and you can kind of pick up on those.
So what is it that you think or believe that you can teach people who need to take the SAT that these very expensive courses can't?
I've seen my friends study for the SAT while they were in these courses, and they were totally studying the wrong things, or at least like wasting their time. Like, some things I would do is definitely, like, every course, as soon as you go there on day one, they'll give you a list or a packet of flashcards. Do not study those. Like, it's a total waste of your time to just study vocabulary words and try to think that you know, like, what words are going to be on the test, because you never do. It's different words every time, and you're really wasting your time just trying to memorize specific words.
What's a good use of your time, based on your experience?
I mean, as far as vocabulary, I would memorize prefixes and suffixes, and definitely have a very good familiarity with how the English language works, as far as parts of speech and how that can help you define a word just by looking at it. Another thing is, like, there's an essay section. Most SAT prep courses will tell you to think of a really good idea and outline your thing before, and you know what? I've already gone too far. That's a waste of time. You could just think about the first thing that comes into your mind, whether it's true or not true. You can even make up a book if you want to, and include it as a reference in your essay. Do whatever it takes. Just address the topic in a way that is meaningful and that you could imagine most quickly and be able to write about quickly. It's because they don't need to validate the facts that you write in your essay. They just need to evaluate it based on a first reading.
What about math?
In math, there's definitely some subjects that are more addressed than others. And a huge tip for the math section is get a TI-89 calculator. There's certain graphing calculators with functions that will literally answer the question for you just by plugging it in. It'll literally give you the answer. And this calculator actually isn't allowed on the ACT, but it is allowed on the SAT. So if you're taking the SAT, that'll be a huge advantage.
So that's just practical information that you've gleaned as a result of taking this test so many times.
Yeah, and I challenge anybody to go to an SAT class and come away with that kind of information.
Don't put yourself in his shoes. Study.
With the new iHopper.
Just study, study, study. If you study, you'll pass the test. That's how the game is played. Don't just sit there and cheat or do other people's tests. That's setting a bad example. That's the bottom line here. Cheating is bad. That's the whole bottom line. That's all for this edition of Game Break Friday going to Saturday. We'll see you again for Game Break Tuesday. For all of us here at YouTube, man, give me a break. Stop bullying, speak up. Concentration, not strength. No jaywalking. Take care of yourself and each other. Good night.